Boxing truth here. Terence Crawford has yet to acknowledge any of the challenges being dished out by Felix Diaz, a rated contender for the two sanctioning bodies belts that Terence Crawford holds, the WBC and the WBO. Felix Diaz is rated in the top 15 for both organizations. He's been calling for a fight for Terence Crawford for quite the longest, at least the past 6 months. Gunning for that shot. Thinks he could beat Terence Crawford. He's promoted by Lou DiBella. And he's definitely one of the more interesting prospective opponents out there for Crawford. So is Terence Crawford ducking Felix Diaz? Does he not want that work? No. Terence Crawford is not ducking Felix Diaz because he doesn't have to fight Felix Diaz. Felix Diaz is not the mandatory. Terence Crawford is under no obligations to fight a Felix Diaz because Felix Diaz is only rated number 5 with the WBC and rated around the top 10 with the WBO. So for Felix Diaz to get his shot at Terence Crawford, he needs to hope that Crawford, his team, and Top Rank cherry pick him within the rankings. But that's not going to happen. Bob Arum's matchmakers know what the fuck they're doing. They know boxing. They know what's difficult styles for Crawford, what's the styles that will suit him better in the ring to make him look the way he's looked in some of his fights, like the Hank Lundys, the Thomas Delormes, the John Molinas of the world. But here's the issue for Crawford's next fight. Top Rank and Crawford's team must be having some difficulty finding a interesting opponent for Crawford's next fight at 140 pounds. That is the issue. Now Crawford is out of the Manny Pacquiao sweepstakes. He's definitely not going to get that fight for the first quarter of 2017. So they need to look for prospective opponents at around the 140-pound weight division. That's the problem. The pickings are slim. You look at the WBC ratings, you look at the WBO ratings. Not much is out there for Terence Crawford. You got Ricky Burns unified with the African guy, Adongo. They're going to unify their titles. So they're off the table. It's not like those fights are that interesting for Crawford anyways. So Felix Diaz should be one of the opponents under consideration for Crawford's next fight, but I haven't heard nothing from Terence Crawford or his team. They haven't acknowledged Felix Diaz's call-outs. He's definitely a worthy contender. He's coming off momentum, coming off a decent campaign in 2016. Got an upset win, moved up in weight, and beat up a prospect in Sammy Vasquez. He's a guy that can compete at 47 or 140 pounds. He's an Olympic gold medalist. He provides a difficult style. The guy can fight. And he will be one of the more interesting opponents for Crawford in what has now been a very weak run for Crawford in the past year or so. Ever since he became Fighter of the Year, it's been a lot of layups, showcases, lightweights, fighting overmatched opponents, guys coming in overweight, John Molinas of the world. And this is how Crawford is getting his pound-for-pound recognition. His best win to date is him sticking it out against Victor Postol. You're going to tell me Crawford deserves pound-for-pound recognition based on him running away from Postol and stinking it out. But that's his run. He's won 3 world titles. One of them was vacant. He unified the titles, but in the most unpleasing way possible. Very poor performance against Postol on the pay-per-view platform. And now Crawford, he's in a division that really is lacking a lot of name recognition. It's lacking money fights. And there's really nobody on the table for Crawford's next fight, which is being pushed around April or May, I believe. There's only a few opponents out there that would be interesting, that you at least have somewhat of an interest to watch it. Felix Diaz is one of the opponents. Amir Imam will be decent, even though he got iced, he got his ass whooped. He's only had one fight ever since he got his ass whooped. But he's highly rated within the WBC. Tony Orozco is the number one contender. It's not really an interesting fight, but Golden Boy, I believe they promote Orozco. They haven't really shown much interest in pursuing that fight, despite their fighter being the number one contender. So, who else is out there for Crawford? Honestly, I would like to see the Felix Diaz fight. If Crawford doesn't fight him, it's not ducking. But you have to consider the options on the table. I mean, who else is out there? Who would HBO approve? They haven't had much trouble getting HBO to approve lightweight showcases. Crawford's been getting paid handsomely. 7 figures to fight Hank Lundy's and the John Molinas of the world. So that's not a problem. But I would like to see Crawford fight somewhat of a challenge before he departs the 140-pound weight class. The Felix Diaz fight would definitely fit that bill. Diaz will provide a challenge. He will provide something different. He will be a difficult style. I'm not sure it will be an entertaining fight, but I'll be interested to watch the fight to see what Diaz can do with a Crawford and how Crawford would deal with that type of style. It's definitely a lot more interesting than anything else out there I'm seeing. In the top 15 ratings of Crawford's belts, there's just not much out there. Guys are busy. Broner is busy. That's the only fight that's worth Crawford staying at 144. But it'll be a very difficult fight to make since Broner won't take $4 million to fight Pacquiao. You think he's gonna take less than half that to fight Crawford? You smoking. So we'll see what's next for Terence Crawford. His career has been a drag for the past couple of years. A lot of layups. Stinking out the joint in his biggest fight. But it's all good, though. He's still a pound level fighter. All the American outlets dick riding you. Despite your look what you've done lately. But Crawford, take the Diaz fight, man. That's the only interesting fight out there for you. If you could fight Imam, fine. If you could fight Orozco, you're mandatory, whatever. But looking at the ratings, there's only a few opponents HBO would actually approve. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Who should Crawford fight next at 140? This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.